Good morning. Welcome to Sahitya Academy's Webline Literature series. Today's program is in English language. Today we are having a poetry reading by three very well-known and eminent poets. And Meera joins us from Trivandrum, Sukanya joins us from Kolkata, Dr. Paramita joins us from Bombay. The poetry, in addition to everybody has got some definition, understanding, feeling for poetry. Apart from all this, it has been expressed for over 1,000, maybe 1,000 years or more. And apart from all these things, poetry, what it does, people, is that it decorates our thought, it ornaments our feelings. Without poetry, the internal world, psychological world will be barren. So poetry is that which spices up our thoughts, feelings, and emotions. But Sahitya Academy has been having this poetry reading for the last 4 decades plus. And we try to bring voices from different corners of the India so that we will have a conglomeration. It's a kind of a wonderful symphony of voices from different people. And as part of that effort, so we have started online also. This poetry reading actually is there. Poetry is written as well as oral, but essentially, originally poetry is oral by nature. But over a period of decades, this poetry reading and listening has been vanishing. Even the research by Huffington Post and Pew 5 years ago, it showed that especially in the Indian subcontinent, this poetry listening has completely gone. But slowly it's getting revived in some regional languages, but not all. So to continue our tradition of giving the pleasure of listening to the viewers directly from the poets themselves, and we have wonderful poets, Dr. Paramita Mukherjee Mallik, and she is a poet, scholar, and writer. She has published 5 books and actually 7 books. And some of her poems have been translated into many languages, as many as 31 languages, including Bulgarian, Uzbek, Spanish, Italian, and Indonesian. She has been blessed with many awards for her poems, including the Gold Rose from Argentina for promotion of literature and culture. She has been an executive editor of an international journal, Kafla Intercontinental, and the executive director of Kafla's International Writers Festival. She has started the president of, she's a president of Intercultural Poetry and Performance Library, IPPL, Mumbai chapter. So it's a great pleasure to have you, Dr. Paramita Mukherjee.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And our next poet is Meera Nair. Oh, Meera Nair is a very eminent poet, dancer, actor, writer, media person. She has got a master's in management and commerce and diploma in journalism. Her first published poems were in 2015. The book titled The Grave, Born When Black Invaded White, won her 2nd prize in the Muse India Young Writers Award 5 years ago. Meera added 2 more volumes of poetry after that, Poetry Vending Machine and N-Body. This book, next book will be published fall this year. Basically it's a compilation of conversation between her and her children. So it's great to have you with us, Meera.
Thank you.
Okay. And our 3rd poet is Sukanya Basu Mallik, and she's a published researcher, poet, social entrepreneur, multi-genre author, film and book critic. Her works have been published in various journals and magazines, Reader's Digest, Times of India, in Indian Literature, Sahitya Academy, ABP Group, and etc. And besides a number of many international platforms also her poems have been published. She won the Best Manuscript Award for fiction and non-fiction categories in Mumbai Lit Fest 2 years ago. She has got 2 paperbacks, Me Too and Mocktail, to her credit. Her short story, Healing of Wounds, led by Ruskin Bond and others, very eminent authors, praised her short story. So I think right now she is not with us, and then she will join us very soon. Meera, you can start your poetry now.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's indeed a great honor to be on this platform today, and I'm looking forward to the session. The first poem that I will read today is from my first book of poetry. The poem is titled Galtia. I'm sure all of us know the story of Galtia, Pygmalion, the Greek sculptor who carved a statue in stone called Galtia. And he fell in love with the statue and the statue came to life. So that is Galtia. And this is my Galtia. Galtia. When Galtia came to life, she was sent to see the wonders of the world. Water, sparkling crystal clear, gushing out from the womb of the earth. Mist fingers that first touched and then became arms that embraced. The expanse of the sky, the green of the Goa fruit, a mother feeding her child. But all Galtia wanted was Pygmalion. So she was brought back to him. She devoured the intensity of his eyes that had bored into her, the arrogance of his mouth that had measured her, the precision of his hands that had hammered her torso, his chiseled nose on which earth had been written, the midnight blue of his skin that had contrasted with her marble white. Galtia watched Pygmalion and knew what it was to be content. Then she leaned over and kissed his heart of stone. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a very good poem. And
Very nice.
Sukanya just called now. So she's going to join very soon. Dr. Paramita, you please continue.
Yes. Thank you so much. My first poem, again from like Meera, from my first book of poems. It's called Freedom. The title is Freedom. Freedom is in your mind. Scream for it. Search for it. You will never find. Freedom is being aware. Freedom is showing others that you care. Freedom is respecting each other. Freedom is developing oneself. Freedom is not in others' decency to be a weakness. It is beautifying your inner being, not only your face. Freedom is limitless, cannot be defined. It is something which helps you to be more refined. Freedom does not give you permission to exploit, nor give you license to hurt others with feelings devoid. Cherish freedom when you get it. Nurture your free life and advance it. You have one beautiful life to enjoy freedom. You only have one beautiful mind to spread happiness in God's kingdom. Thank you.
Thank you. Meera?
Yes, okay.
It looks like, one second, it looks like Dr. Paramita, even your internet sounds stable. It is showing me like that. No problem, we will continue as long as it's available. Yeah, please, Meera, please go ahead.
Yes.
Oh, you couldn't hear me?
Yeah, your voice is breaking, no problem. Yeah, Meera,
Okay.
continue.
Okay.
Shall I continue?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. This poem is called Baby Bum. And I wrote this in 2015 after this image. I'm sure all of you remember this image of this Syrian boy, refugee boy, 3-year-old boy, Alan Kurdi, who washed ashore. And I think that image must have shattered all of us. And this is a poem that I wrote after that. This poem is titled Baby Bum. A baby bum was all me, a baby bum to kiss, to lay my head against, discard diapers and trust. A baby bum was all that I knew, till you my son, you my refugee son, you washed ashore. Thank you.
Dr. Paramita, are you there?
Yes, I'm very much there.
Yeah, please.
Yes. Yes.
Please, yeah.
This poem is again from my first book, Life, a collection of poems. I had gone to Munich and I had gone to Dachau, the first concentration camp there made by Hitler. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah.
Can you hear me, all of you?
Yeah.
Yes. So Dachau, and there was this museum, of course, of this concentration camp. And I was very much hurt, and I wrote this poem, Dachau. Why is man the biggest enemy of himself? Doesn't man know he is the image of himself? Why this laceration of human dignity? Why this death from thousands to infinity? Why this cruelty to the other? He too is someone's son, someone's father. Oh man, why have you gone through the vicious cycle of harm? When you caused sorrow, didn't your heart sound an alarm? Savageness worse than death, hurting man till the end of his breath. Why this heartlessness? Why this torture? Why this mental violence? Oh God, let all wars, all cruelty cease. Oh children of today, wake up and be the Messiah of peace. Thank you.
Meera?
Called Kamala. It's just a few lines, but I'm sure every woman who writes poetry identifies with the iconic poet Kamala Das. One way or the other, we feel that she's written everything that we have wanted to write. So this is a tribute to that great poet. Just a few lines, and the poem is called Kamala. Kamala. Kamala, lotus in eternal bloom. You stole words from my mouth and made them yours long before I was born. As I turn your pages, we laugh together at all those who read us wrong. Thank you.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Yeah. Yes, Dr. Paramita.
I love nature, and I have written many poems about nature, and it makes me, I think nature made me a poet from a scientist. So I got inspired by the Louis Armstrong song, What a Wonderful World. It was in Madagascar. So my poem is called What a Wonderful World. There are people who are poor, but also rich people who open their heart's door. There are people who grab the lion's share, and also people who always care. There is hatred and despair, but again, there is love and kindness to spare. There is cruelty and killing, but there is creation and love's healing. There is cribbing and cursing, but also satisfaction and the sick getting nursing. There is jealousy and sickness, but love and passion, which can never be a weakness. So open your eyes and heart to a wonderful world. Live in joy and happiness. Live in a wonderful world.
Yeah. Okay. Armstrong's voice from Bombay. Okay. Meera?
This poem is called Insanity, and this is something that I wrote during the lockdown, after the first lockdown was imposed. So this is something that this is a very recent poem. Insanity. It lurked outside the doorstep, just a call away. It blew flying kisses and ran away. It beckoned and then disappeared. You played its game of hide and seek. Through the open window, you could touch the moon. You gathered the moonlight in your arms and bathed in its ethereal glow. When you woke up to empty mornings, it came visiting. It laid its heavy head on your chest. Trapped, you could hardly breathe. It became poems, stories, pictures, words. You clutched them to your breast. Mine, mine, you said, till he trampled on them and called you insane. Locked down, you meet your demon face to face. You embrace it. Thank you.
Yeah. So why did you write this particular poem?
I think when we were all locked down, we had to come to terms with ourselves more and more, because otherwise it was always an escape route. You got outside, you met people, you did this, But then lockdown, you have to deal with yourself, all of us. So that is why.
Okay. Dr. Paramita?
Sorry, Sukanya can't join us and we are
Yeah,
missing her.
maybe our internet is bad, actually.
Yes, yes.
You know, sometimes it happens, sometimes it happens. You know, we had one panel discussion on translation. A person from Kasargod and then one fellow from Chennai and one from Calcutta. Well, internet was bad that day. I mean, I don't know, all the places. Sometimes it happens. Yeah. You please go ahead.
So like I was saying, nature, and like I was saying, talking about nature, and I read a very powerful poem instead. So now nature again. Everything for you and me. Come out of your cocoon and see. The blue sky is there for you and me. The sun is coloring the sky in multi-hues, the yellows, reds, and pinks mixing with the blues. The eagles circling with their wings afloat, the puffed up clouds gliding like a boat, the trees fluttering and waving their heads, the tiny butterflies playing on the soft grass bed, the crows taking sprigs for their nest, the majestic swans flying with the rest, the parrots screeching to their heart's content, so much happiness around you with no dent. So come out, my friend, into the blue, because everything in nature is for me and you.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Meera?
This poem is called Sari, and I find that both. It's called Sari.
Okay.
Both the
Sari, oh, I love saris.
Dressed up in sari today, and so I thought I'll read this out. It's from again from my first book. Sari. How easy it is to drape a sari around your burgeoning body, to adorn the becoming tires of respectability, to hold your spine stiff, to jut out your chest a bit, to let the gold monstrosity around your neck show. How easy it is to hold your aristocratic nose high and throw a condescending look, to peek at the women around you and ponder who is the fairest of them all. How easy it is to pretend not to notice the jeweled daggers and the measuring gazes of men who stare. How easy it is to hold a bawling child in your arms and merge into the cycle of ancient wisdom and ancient aunts. How easy it is to belong. Thank you.
Very good, very good. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Now again, a powerful poem. I really feel, we all feel that terrorists, unnecessary wars are cowards. I wrote this poem when, if you remember, a few years back, there was this terrorist attack in Nice in the south of France. And I've just come back from Nice then. So I was really, really hurt about this. And I wrote this, Cowards. The title is Cowards. Oh, gun-toting, bomb-blasting cowards. You can only kill humans. Can you kill their souls? Can you kill the love for them in others' hearts? Oh, gun-toting, bomb-blasting cowards. You can only destroy buildings and monuments. Can you wipe away the history surrounding them? Can you wipe away the labor to build them? Oh, gun-toting, bomb-blasting cowards, you can only demolish and plunder. Can you create a new life? Can you create a new history? Be brave for once, nurture an innocent child. Be brave for once, protect someone from harm. Be brave for once, fall in love with the same madness as your anger.
Yeah, very good. Meera?
This poem is called Weaning Away, and I wrote this for my second son, whom I really had a tough time weaning away. Weaning away. Through the stink and the stench of the gooey mess that you smear on yourself, he makes way to your nipples. You spend your nights in other rooms and sob yourself to sleep as he learns to stand on his feet. He walks away. Everyone cheers and you smile as you long for the tug at your breasts. Thank you.
Dr.
Now,
Paramita.
now a woman-oriented poem where when I was reaching middle age and I suddenly felt that who am I, and I was thinking about myself. The poem is called Suddenly. Suddenly I'm feeling I'm flying. Suddenly I'm feeling I am free. Suddenly I feel I've fallen in love for the first time. Suddenly I can't recognize the new me. The blue skies are brighter. All work is lighter. Some hidden spark has ignited. Some unidentified thoughts have been sighted. Suddenly the colors have changed. All trees are looking green as if it had just rained. Suddenly the meanings have changed. All bad thoughts have drained. Am I on cloud nine? Am I sick or am I fine? Somewhere I'm finding me. Somewhere I'm discovering the real me. Suddenly I feel I've fallen in love for the first time. Suddenly I've fallen in love with me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we had a very interesting conversation, Meera, that we had one on creativity and isolation. Okay, that's
Sorry.
isolation. Yeah, isolation and creativity. So we had one of them is poet, Professor H. Shiva Prakash. He's one of the very well-known poets in India, and he writes in Kannada. And one of the discussion is, does isolation? You read the poem on lockdown and basically your immediate surroundings. And of course, poetry does reflect reality. If it is a fantasy poem, it reflects the psychological inner reality. And if it's one's own immediacy of experience when expressed through poetry, it's very beautiful. Your other poems, continued after that. And he says the poet has to withdraw. Poet has to withdraw every now and then. Without that kind of a self-enforced isolation, creativity cannot flow. I'm listening to both your poetry, so it's very beautifully expressed. It's nothing away from reality or one's own that immediate experiences so far. Yeah, please go ahead, Meera.
This poem is called Shopping Mall. Shopping Mall. A lot of shopping malls are closed down these days. And I'm sure a lot of people I know are missing going to shopping malls. So this is titled Shopping Mall. Once I flocked to shopping malls, hopped onto escalators, and lost count of floors. Mannequins stared into space. Ice creams became softies. Women became brands. And promotions overtook displays. Money was plastic. Bowling alleys had shutters. One could get on a speeding bike and not move an inch. Cheese popcorn stuck to your tooth, and movie halls had cushions. Once I flocked to shopping malls, but not any longer, for I have discovered the raging ocean, the endless sky, flowering rivers, flowing rivers, mighty mountains, wild forests, and flowering trees in me. Thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Paramita.
Very nice. We women, we have to leave our parents' homes. And now that I am in Mumbai for the last 18, 19 years, my native place is Kolkata. So naturally, I've left my parents' home in Kolkata. My father is no more. Now, there is this huge, we have those olden kind of house in Kolkata, the 3-story house with a huge terrace, and old, beautiful Burma teak furniture and all. So I was looking into the chest of drawers one day, and I remembered my childhood days because my mother used to keep everything. We are 4 siblings, so everything in this chest of drawers reminded me of early childhood. And I wrote this poem, The Chest of Drawers. Rummaging in the chest of drawers, old photographs, old tidbits, forgotten diaries, forgotten books, faded papers from every nook. Rummaging in the chest of drawers, old envelopes, old ink pots, forgotten days, forgotten memories, faded paintings, pale sceneries, rummaging in the chest of drawers, the lusterless Burma teak, the worn-out wooden form, filled with childhood memories, secure and warm. Rummaging in the chest of drawers, my childhood came alive, my playful days, which went by so soon. Before fully realizing the beauty of dawn, came the noon.
Meera.
Ma'am, this poem is for you, for your Kolkata, which is a city that I too love. Kolkata. Kolkata, you boast of history. The Ganges flows, you reek of poverty. Horses trot around your guarded memorials, pulling along gaudy carriages in your alleys. Men trot, carrying the burden of other men on their shoulders. The red of the pan that stains your mouth and the white of your rosagullas color the saris that hang out of the windows of your dilapidated buildings. A lone tram trudges its way through streets teeming with people. Kolkata, your goddess, sticks out her tongue at your children begging on your streets.
Beautiful.
Beautiful, wonderful.
Beautiful. I go back to nature again. Like Meera was talking about her son, I have a daughter, and we mothers are very much attached to our children. And when they go out to study or anything, you feel like a part of you has gone away with your child. So I'd written this when she had gone for a course. And I was sitting in a garden in Oxford, a beautiful garden, and I was very lonely that day without my daughter. Sitting lonely with loneliness. I was all alone in the garden, not a soul in view. I was sitting lonely with loneliness. When the truth came into view, there were trees and bushes in the garden, butterflies fluttering in the breeze. There were birds chirping in the branches, squirrels scampering up the trees. I was all alone in the garden, not a soul in view. I was sitting lonely with loneliness when the truth came into view. With so much activity all around, with so much beautiful sound, how can I be lonely in the garden when there is so much life around?
Thank you. Yeah, Meera.
This poem is called Haji Ali, and I've always wanted to visit Haji Ali, and I did so sometime early this year. But this is a poem that I wrote before actually seeing Haji Ali. So this is more of my imagination. Haji Ali. When the waves receded, there appeared a causeway, a pathway leading to you. Beggars on either side, sans limbs, sans eyes. Me too, seeking arms. Precariously perched on slippery rocks, lovers clinging to each other. Not knowing what to ask for, I came to pay homage to the dead, to press my forehead against your cold tomb. I flew through a rain-soaked sky to reach you before sunset, before the Qawwali singers sang their souls out, before the hungry sea drew them, doomed lovers, into her bosom. Before the rising tide cut you off from me, the sea murmurs, too late, too late. Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah.
I do a lot of poetry workshops in schools all over India and in Mumbai especially, and I have themed it inculcating moral values through poetry in young minds. So I sometimes write poems for children, and I would love to read this poems. It is a little childish, but it talks about us adults as well. Sorry. It is called Through the Eyes of an Alien. I was cozy in my flying saucer, dreaming my own dreams. Looked down and saw the earthlings. They were running all around, very busy they seemed. Very funny creatures these earthlings are. They go on working all through the day. Some are happy and some are sad. Some go about their own way. I looked and looked at the earthlings. They are supposed to be very humane and so-called human beings. But they were arguing, clashing, and fighting. I did not find anything humane. No, not a thing. I taught them to be caring and sharing. Instead, they were selfish and unkind. I taught them to be compassionate and fair. But kind ones I did not find. My round big eyes were observing these creatures. They were hurting each other without any reason. Don't they have good teachers? Teachers to teach them kindness and caring? To teach them compassion and joy? To instruct them on how to feel for others? How to be happy with a toy?
Yeah. Sukanya has joined us. So Meera, you continue, then Sukanya will follow you.
Okay. This poem is called Jungle Safari. And this is something I wrote when we went on a family vacation to a place called Wayanad, which is in North Kerala. It's a forest area. This is called Jungle Safari. It was him we had been warned against, him, the loner. But it was a wild bison we spotted first. He flexed his muscles and flaunted his six packs. Velvety hide stretched taut over the expanse of his enticing body. Curved horns in crowning glory. Wild bison, endearing male vanity on display. Not far off, a herd of deer and a man with lens instead of eyes aimed his weapon. They fled, doe-eyed schoolgirls escaping college boys. And then, around a corner, we saw him, pressed into a hollow of the earth, camouflaged as a rock, dusty, in need of a wash, dark, silent, unmoving, formidable, majestic. He haunts me. Why did he choose to turn into stone when with one storm he could have crushed us to death? Thank you.
Okay, very good. Sukanya, please unmute yourself and then you can read two poems. Yeah.
The first two poems that I would like to read were published by Sahitya Academy, and the first one is called Spring's Arrival. So it goes like this.
Sukanya, can you just come closer? Your voice is feeble. You just come closer.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So the first one is Spring's Arrival. Gentle breeze blowing, sun's warmth coming. Spring comes, touching the weary, gloomy earth, destroying the heat of anger. To love it gives birth. Watches the flowers unfurl and glow. Watches the seedlings to slowly grow. A different light exists in spring, not present in the year, at no other period, but when March is scarcely here. A color stands abroad on forests, lakes, and solitary hills that science can't overtake as human nature feels. It waits upon the lawn to show the furthest tree. Upon the furthest slope, we know it almost speaks to me of yellow leaves and gossamer in autumns that there were, with morning mist, silver sun, and wind upon my hair. I sit beside the fire and think of how the world will be when winter comes without a spring that I shall ever see. For still there are so many things that I have never seen. In every wood, in every spring, there is a different green. The breeze comes by, dancing on its doors. The daylight brightens the bluest depths of the sky. Open your for there is more ecstatic and more beautiful second poem is called Time. So I think this is more suitable for now because we are uncertain about everything. So here it is. There's a time for laughter, a time for tears. There's a time for courage, a time for fears. There's a time for rejoicing, a time to grieve. There's a time for staying and a time to leave. There's a time for love, a time for hate. There's a time for staying and a time to leave. There's a time for love, a time for hate. There's a time for friendship and a time for a mate. There's a time to listen, a time to talk. There's a time to run, a time to walk. There's a time for singing, a time to dance. There's a time to be safe, a time to take a chance. There's a time to be serious, a time to play, a time to maintain, and a time to stray. There's a time for caring, a time for none, a time for sharing, and a time for only one.
Yeah, it is also a time internet becomes all right in India because we are all moving towards this digital world. I mean, we are not going to go back to normal immediately. Yesterday, there was a wonderful discussion with Aparna Karthikeyan and Abhishek Parvi. Parvi, Abhishek works in IIT Madras and Aparna is based in Bombay. So they were all, it's becoming very clear that, especially in this, every day we are having a program and then internet doesn't work anyway. So thank you. So you please go ahead, Dr. Paramita.
I personally feel we are global citizens. We all are global citizens, where I wrote this poem, Which City Do You Belong To? Which city do you belong to? They asked. I looked at them with emotions masked. They asked me my religion and caste. I looked away with eyes downcast. I belong to every city, and every city is mine. How can you bind me with a line? I belong to all religions, as all are beautiful and fine. How can you bind me with a line? Which race do you belong to? They asked. I reflected and didn't respond fast, whether from the north, south, or the plateau vast. I looked up and answered at last. I belong to all regions, and all regions are mine. How can you bind me with a line? I belong to all races. Every race is unique and fine. How can you bind me with a line? Which country do you belong to? They asked. I gave a deep thought and looked at the sky vast. They looked at my skin with a glimpse fast. I belong to the world, and I am a human, I said at last.
Yeah. Meera?
This poem is called Love in the Time of Emoticons. Love in the Time of Emoticons. Emoticons changed the world. You sent me a heart-shaped red. It throbbed on my screen, and I was afraid the glass would crack. I hated the thumbs-up sign, so you replaced it with sunglasses on a face. You blew flying kisses, stuck out your tongue, folded your hands, and sent me your lips. Then there was a yellow face with hands sticking out of its sides. You told me it was a hug. I should have sent a smiley in return. Instead, I switched off my phone. Sometimes I wonder what your touch feels like.
Very good, very good. Sukanya? Yeah, you read two more poems. Since you are not there for a long time, please read two poems.
Absolutely. Yes.
All right. So the first two poems which I read were published by the Sahitya Akademi, and now I will be reading two more poems from my poetry collection, which is Petals and Thorns. So the first one is The Literature of My Heart. You are a poem that I read every day, with eyes both open and closed. Enchanting is your symmetric face, much like the beautiful verses, your stealing glances. They are love's metaphor. The hurdles, they are rhyme. Your life's diary. You're the literature of my heart. So the next poem is called Strangely Familiar, and it's a very short one, just 3 lines. Lonely evenings spent reminiscing, pulling up old letters from oblivion. Strangely familiar, yet so much out of context. And the next one is called Dry Tears. An unsaid goodbye amid trickling raindrops. Dry tears and endings, neither happy nor sad.
Yeah. Dr. Paramita?
Since it's the COVID times, we sometimes, like Meera was also reading out a poem about these times. So it's a very different situation. It's a very new normal, a very different situation, like totally locked up in the house. And in Mumbai, it's still a very bad situation. I wrote this during this COVID scene. The poem is called A Place Called Love. Clouds of disease and dread everywhere. The buildings being sealed one after the other. Stocking food and grains in panic. You know not when the essential supplies will stop. Television viewing has become a nightmare. The demography of disease and death 24/7. A desperate search for a vaccine in vain. The world has gone berserk. It has become insane. Then you, for solace, look into your home. Home where hope and harmony abides. Home where balm for every pain lies. Home where assurances wash away your fears. Home where you give your heart and soul to your dears. When everything seems uncertain and wrong, you come back to your own peaceful alcove. You come back home, a place called love.
Very good. Meera?
This is a poem that I wrote after I visited Konark. Konark. The poem is also titled Konark. Where your heart once was, now lies a hollow. Did it hurt when they took it away? Was sand all you could find to fill that void? The salt of the sea eats into you. There are pock marks on your face. Does it sting when it rains? Your lions roar no more. Your horses have broken their backs. Your lotuses are half eaten. A salamander runs over your body. It sticks out its tongue. Snakes hide in your crevices. Your women have lost their breasts. Your men their libido. Your wheels crumble. The chariot does not move. Plundered, looted, eroded, falling. How long will the scaffolding hold? And yet, I fall on my knees to worship you. For even in your ruins, there is so much glory. Thank you.
Yeah. Sukanya, you read a couple of poems.
So these are from my poetry collection, #MeToo. And so the first poem is, Wasn't he supposed to cure? He was supposed to cure, but he harmed more. What though I held high my nation's face with gold and silver and bronze medals? I can no longer hold up mine when confronted with none other but myself, because I was an athlete and he was a doctor. Empowering, isn't it? So the next one is called Feed on My Flesh. People speak a lot these days, a lot more than and a lot dissimilar from what actually matters. They say money runs the world. They also say retaliation in the workplace is a crime. But I feel that I owe myself more than anything, at least till I keep breathing. I can't let others feed on my flesh just to keep my stomach well fed. But no one speaks on my behalf, though they speak a lot more than and a lot dissimilar from what actually matters. Then there is this one called PTSD. One of those culprits died for good before I could heal externally after that incident, but the rest knew that it was coming. Yes, I do feel somewhat relieved I'm not carrying their secret anymore, but I still have the PTSD, a mark of their sin on me that no surgery, no medicine could remove. And then there's this one called Scary Love. So it goes like this. Do you dream about your love? I too did once when I was a utopian. But now I only have nightmares, dreams of my love, drugging me in my home, in my bed, and kidnapping me, only to torture me in a dungeon for the rest of my life. The man of my dreams is now a scary person, and the fact that he is the law enforcement seems even scarier, and to love seems blood curdling. Thank you.
Yeah, so wonderful. So we are slowly, we have come to the final part of our program. I mean, it's sad that Sukanya, maybe you'll get better internet. Maybe next program we'll have more opportunity. And very importantly, it's just 5 minutes. I will start with Meera, then Dr. Paramita, then Sukanya. You see, the experiences, they become metaphor, not only in the film world, but even in real life. I mean, your experience. See, all the poems recited today, read out today, we're all, it just, it shows that there is no process. Okay, Meera visits Kolar, she's locked down. You visit Nice and come back and you are shocked. You are expressing. That's on the one hand, it is a pleasure, actually, to record, express, and for the people to read and or listen to you. But when the same experiences in the process of becoming metaphor, and then it's a memory, when it is processed. Okay, why I am saying this is we are in the middle of a pandemic. 100 years ago, we had a pandemic, and the pandemic literature all started coming after 1921, not in 1918. Now, Amitav Ghosh, and Pico Iyer, they are correctly predicting that we are going to be flooded by pandemic literature, pandemic novels, especially pandemic poetry. But what is your take as a poet? When is it just immediacy of experience that is expressed, or you allow that experience to go in, you process it, you digest it, and then come out with some epic poems? Meera, we'll start with you.
I know it is said that you should not write the first thing that comes to your mind. You should allow it to sleep. You should sleep on it. You should allow it to grow. You should read. You should write. You should reread it again. I know that that is what scholars say, and probably they are right. But I do not work that way. For me, poetry is a spontaneous overflow of emotion. And that's the only way that I can write. Probably that's not the best way, but that is how I function. And what do I say? I mean, pandemic literature, of course, I'm sure a lot of it is going to come out because we are all going through tough times. And that experience will have different interpretations for each one of us. And especially the more sensitive ones among us are going to be more influenced by it emotionally. And I'm sure a lot of it is going to flow. What is good in that, what is bad, what is a quality, that only time will tell. But a lot of pandemic literature is sure to flow.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing right or wrong, good or bad. See, basically, it's just one way. As you say, you are working this way. As a poet, you work in this way. Well, maybe there are, but my question was something different. Is it when you allow something to sink in? I feel that not always, but especially in times like this, no problem. So you have you feel that immediacy of not only experience but also expression is very important. Okay, Dr. Paramita, your take on this?
I too second Meera in saying that my expressions come out very spontaneously. Like when I'm traveling, I wrote most of my poems when I'm traveling. Of course, I'm locked up in the house for the last 3-4 months. I'm writing a lot. I'm 2 books of mine, the manuscripts, like I told you, they have already are in the process. So, but I generally write when I'm traveling. And I feel that it's very spontaneous, and I feel that thought will never come when I regurgitate or think over it and write it later on. It comes out spontaneously. If I'm hurt, or I'm hurt about a situation, somebody is hurt, or I'm very happy, I'm a very passionate person, so I have to express it immediately in my poems. So I feel my poetry comes spontaneously.
Yeah, because what Meera told me reminds me of one poet from Kerala. His name is Siddharth Menon. I don't know where does he live. Young, very fantastic poet in English. I don't know where does he live. So he actually, his first book was published by Sahitya Akademi, a collection called Woodpecker. And if at all you all get any chance, you please buy that book. Only just 40 rupees or 50 bucks or something. What Meera said, he was also very similar type. Is very similar, and what comes to him, he expresses it. And some other poet who was from Odisha, he said, yeah, that is a way because God writes through me. He was a believer, and Siddharth Menon was opposite. But both of them are, using the same path. Sukanya?
I do believe that, I write when I am feeling an emotion, whether I'm sad or I'm happy. That's when I write the best of my poems. But I do not, send it out for publishing exactly then and there. I sleep over it, just like Meera ma'am said, and then I edit it when I'm sober and I'm not emotional. And after that, I send it out because, when I'm emotional, I might write something which I might not want to send out. So that's the process. But, it is an emotional overflow.
Oh, that's very new. Meera, do you edit your poems?
Actually, no, I don't.
Yeah. First time I'm hearing Sukanya is telling, maybe that's a kind of a new way of thinking, and probably, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, yes, ma'am. Sorry. Please go ahead.
I feel if I edit my poems, they will become something else. Because the first draft is the most honest expression. It is the most original expression. If I sit down to edit it, probably it could become more refined, but then it becomes something else. And I want it to be raw and honest.
Yeah. Sorry, Dr. Paramita, you were about to say something.
Yeah, I just want to jut in and say something like Meera said, it should be like, I feel it should be the raw emotion that comes on paper. And nowadays, if you see that, in a day, we have to send poems to 2-3 anthologies now. So, they give you themes, they give you prompts. So nowadays it has become a little difficult for passionate people like us who have to sit down and think about a prompt which has been thought by another person. So that again becomes, I think that is making me a more deeper poet, in the sense I sit down with the prompt immediately and I place myself in that situation, and then I have to immediately write and send. So again, that is a different form of poetry which is coming into me now. It's a very new thing with prompts, and I have to give prompts to many anthologies, and that becomes like a very different situation. Maybe that passionate thing goes down a little then.
Okay. So sorry, Sukanya, you please go. Yeah.
So basically, when I wrote for Sahitya Akademi for the first time, I was 17, and I was featured in the Young Life section. And back then, Sir A.J. Thomas, the guest editor, he wrote to me that, Sukanya, you should write less and edit more. And I followed him word by word. And even till date, I write, of course, whenever I'm feeling an emotion, just like our other panelists said. But
you are young, and then you will learn more. More you write, and then more, not the editing. The more you write, more refined you become. Of course. You are a very talented poet, no doubt. And we have 2 minutes left. And just very quickly, Meera, why do you write poetry? What does it mean to you?
That's a very, very difficult question. Because I think poetry is fundamentally a means of escape from reality for me. And it's also a means of purging, because whatever is in the moment, whatever emotion I'm going through, I write it out and I get it out of me. And that's it. I don't even like reading the poems that I write because I don't want to look at an emotion that I've got rid of. So I think poetry for me is a purging process.
Yeah, so Meera says catharsis. Okay, now my Dr. Paramita.
Poetry is happiness for me. Poetry is happiness. Whether negative, whether positive, but I feel very happy when I write poetry.
Sukanya?
Since the very beginning, I was an introvert and I did not have many friends. So I wrote because I was speaking to myself. So I wrote in my diary and I wrote in the form of poems. So that's how I started writing poems.
Okay, catharsis, happiness, and self-discovery. Okay, that is really wonderful. Thank you very much, every one of you. And
thank you so much.
Yeah. And people around the world, please continue to watch Sahitya Academy program in all the 24 languages. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.